Good morning to everyone. My name is Sakthivel. I am from Solution Architect Office, GovTech. I'm heading the whole government program for cloud adoption. I'll be presenting on the cloud migration journey and experience we gained from a large scale migration of 113 systems from on-premises to cloud, what we achieved within a span of 6 months. Commercial cloud was, all the agencies are expected to migrate to cloud within the next 5 years, and the government on commercial cloud intranet was with necessary cloud controls was launched in June 2019. We have a G Cloud, a first generation government private cloud was planned to be decommissioned in December 2019, and it was desired to migrate 113 applications from over 22 agencies to be migrated from G Cloud to GCC within a span of 6 months, and that will be from June to December last year. If you look at last year, when we were in a quite isolated living for too long, our movement from existing place to the new modern cloud world was quite scary at the time. There was majority of the applications were running within the government data centers, and only websites are running in the public cloud. We had very limited experience with the cloud at that time, and we need to pick up a lot to move to the cloud. So what is our overall migration approach? We want to build our cloud expertise first. We also want to establish a flyway for migration. That means we want to define a established guided path for the 113 systems, how to move to the cloud in a more systematic and very consistent manner. We also want to get ready for the cloud operations so that our operations will become smooth and ensure stability of the systems once we move on. So if you look at this 113 systems, the complexity is, it is spread over 22 agencies, and with each one is managed by different project teams as well as different vendors with different levels of cloud competency. So how do we ensure there is some level of consistency and ensure we migrate in a more secure and safe manner? So the first objective is to build the cloud competency in a more organized manner. So we establish a central cloud adoption team to provide cloud expertise and drive the migration. If you look at one of the key aspects of the CAT team is to contextualize the CSP services to government and control requirements. We need to translate the cloud services and how it is applicable for government regulations and how it can be used within our context. And that is one of the key requirements to help agencies in contextualizing that part of the adoption. The second part is also to bring up the level of expertise in the agencies to manage and later migrate and manage the operations. We also want to ensure the latest happenings in the cloud. There is a lot of new services continuously being rolled out in the cloud. How do we ensure agencies are adopting the new services in a faster manner as well as in a more secure manner? So the second, we also looked at how to build the competency in a very bite-sized manner. Standard one-off training we went through is not very effective. People go for training and they forget after some time. So how do we ensure the learning stays and it can be effective for the entire migration exercise? So we went for a quite bite-sized weekly cloud sharing sessions on specific cloud topics with the CSPs over a period of 4 months, and we found it quite useful in terms of getting our people learn about the cloud. And also we went for certifications in parallel, and we went beyond certification to actual practices. So we conducted more agency specific clinics on a wider scale with every of the 22 agencies at different stages of the cloud migration. So this enabled in two-way exchange between the central cloud team as well as the agency teams, and also it enriches the learnings. We also established a community practice group so that all the new updates in the cloud services are quite effectively distributed or disseminated into the different agency teams. We also established a cloud playbook. It is a documentation of the common body of knowledge of what lessons we learned from the different projects. Because if you look at it, the migration is progressing in all the 113 systems across different 22 agencies, and we capture the learnings along the way in a very incremental manner. It also serves as a quite important reference for the projects, because the projects are starting at different times, and the central consultants are very limited resources we have, and it becomes a common way we can exchange the lessons learned. Once we have a more stable way of building the knowledge, we also ensure we want to establish a flyway for migration. What do we mean by flyway? Flyway is in a bird's migration, it's a very highly complex phenomenon. You need to, all the birds migrate from one part of the world to the other part of the world, and they still reach the destination in a very consistent manner. So it is something similar how we define the flyway for cloud migration for the 113 systems, and ensure all the different vendors and project teams working on it is all aligned in a way of consistent cloud practices to reach the destination in an efficient and safe manner. So with that in mind, one of the first things we wanted to do with this, the cloud controls, it is quite inevitable. If you look at it, we may have different types of cloud controls like the security policy controls, or data residency controls, or administration access controls, or even identity and management. So there are different various aspects of the cloud controls, and you need to test out your typical workloads with those cloud controls first. Otherwise, you will end up spending a lot of time if all goes in at the same time, and it is one of the quite good learning lessons for us to ensure the few workloads are tested before we move on a larger scale migration. You also need to plan for your cloud accounts very carefully. You may have your accounts could be at the agency level, or it could be at the business units within the agencies, or it could be at the system and individual component or compartment level. You need to think through how you are going to manage your different environments like UAT, SIT, or development environments, and also how you are going to manage your typical cloud operations at a later stage. Who is going to be involved at what level of access? So, and also towards the end, you also need to be worried about how you are going to, the billing is going to occur, and then how you able to distribute the cost to different project components correctly. So if you are having more shared services, you may want to put those into a separate account so that it can be tracked and distributed to the project cost appropriately. So you need to really plan for your cloud accounts, how you are going to organize it. And also you need to design for your cloud center, data center for scalability. Because if you look at it, you may have different environments, production, UAT, SIT, like that. And also you may have different systems coming into, same agency systems coming into the cloud at different phases. So you need to design your shared services as well as how the different projects will go into your cloud data center appropriately. So you should really think through in terms of overall your compartment designs, how your VPCs are going to be designed, and how the sharing is going to happen, and how the ingress and other aspects of the entire cloud design is going to be done. You also need to look at the tech stack. When I say tech stack, if you look at our applications, 113 applications, all are got in the earlier G-Cloud, different kinds of operating systems, different types of application servers, databases. So come to cloud, we want to standardize so that our operations, the migration operation as well as the future operations can be managed very effectively. So we want to standardize our operating systems, application servers, database, and we want to adopt cloud native services as much as possible, but we are also mindful of the time it requires, because we need to ensure that development does not impact, or we don't get into too long development within that 6 months time frame we need to achieve. So with these all considerations, we try to standardize the tech stack so that the maintenance can become much easier. We also standardize the cloud practices. what I mean by cloud practices is how do you do the application logs, how do you put the timeout for the different layers. So all these need to be considered as part of your design when you migrate to cloud. We also want to ensure the CSP managed services are adopted as much as possible. So if it is database, then use directly whatever cloud managed services available. Don't go and install and manage databases unless there is some special requirement for you. So similarly, we pushed agencies to go for more open source so that the licensing can be much more easier, and when the resources are more dynamically scaled in the cloud, your licenses is not impacting you or inhibiting your agility. So this is to ensure both from the cost perspective as well as from in terms of license management perspective. We also encourage agencies to more go for the subscription licenses and avoid bringing your own license onto the cloud. So this is to more cloud native. Yeah. We also encourage agencies to look at the security practices more closely. This is one of the very good learning for us in terms of the security testing traps for the cloud PaaS services. When agencies went on for the VAPT, the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, they carried their on-premises kind of practices, and it caused a bit of problem because there is a couple of findings which comes up which is cannot be rectified by the agency themselves. They forget to clearly define the shared responsibility model and understand and define the scope of the testing clearly. So please make sure when you go for penetration testing for PaaS services, you should understand the cloud responsibility model clearly and define the scope appropriately. We also push agencies to go for more automation. As you know, the infra as code and policy as code is in terms of speeding up the deployments of the cloud infrastructure faster to achieve a more immutable infrastructure. We also went for some of the projects went for CI/CD practices, and where it helped to push for the development practices to improve, and also it improved the quality of the delivery. The third aspect I would like to highlight is on the building and assembling your own tools. When we go for such a large scale migration, we find even though cloud offers a lot of cloud tools, we still find certain gaps here and there, and you need to really come up with your own tools to manage the migration effectively. Say for example, how do you do the optimizing for RDS, or how do you start-stop instances? You want to have certain automated scripts which can help you to manage these kind of operations in the cloud migration. So you need to look out for where it provides you opportunity to automate and reduce the manual effort in doing such things. Cloud provides a very great way of automating everything, whatever you want to do. I also want to highlight that you need to really look at how you integrate well with your on-premises. There are many services we need to integrate back to our on-prem. For example, how do you forward the DNS query from on-prem DNS to cloud DNS, and also how do you do the user authentication for applications on the intranet, how you do the SFTP, how you do the email back to the government email. So all these are different on-prem services you need to tap on for the cloud migration of intranet applications. So you need to test out all these integrations very well much early. You need to watch out for your dependencies. When I say that, when you go on a large scale like this, 113 applications goes at the similar time frame, there are periods where there will be, say for example, central maintenance will be there for some of the services. Then you may not be able to migrate in those periods, and it may impact your overall schedule. So you need to watch out what are all the dependencies you have, either in terms of the central services or in terms of some of the payment gateway integrations, or it could be related to data migration aspects, or it could be something related to the trial cutover you want to do, or it could be related to different environments you need to be up before you can do proper testing, say in terms of security testing or in terms of the performance testing. So all this you need to really plan and coordinate when a large set of systems are going into the cloud at the same time. The third aspect is on how you get ready for the cloud operations. You need to plan for your cloud operating model yearly. There could be different models. Your on-prem model, what we had all along was you have a facility management vendor who manages the infrastructure and the middleware, and application is managed by the application vendor. So that is the traditional model we had in our on-premises. But come to cloud, it provides you opportunity for you to change the model and make it more dynamic or more agile, and where you can move the entire application together with the cloud infrastructure to apps vendor, if that is one kind of model you can go for. So you need to really look at what kind of operating model you want to go in the cloud, and you have to plan accordingly for your cloud operations later. You also need to be ready for the paradigm shifts. If you look at FM, traditionally they go by number of resources managed by the particular vendor for the particular set of resources. It's quite fixed and rigid, but come to cloud, it is a very dynamic model. The resources goes up and down, and you need to really change how the FM is being managed in terms of cost as well as in terms of the resources. You also need to clearly lay out what are all the day 2 operations you need to do, who do what as well as using what tools and what you are going to measure and manage. So all these need to be laid out clearly so that you also practice it even before migration, and you get the different people who are going to manage your operations into go for trainings as well as go for actual practice of these cloud operations even before your migration happens. You also need to look at how you do continuous optimization. Optimization in the sense, how do you reduce cost and maximize the cloud benefits. Initially you may move to cloud, but you need to gain your experience and try to reduce unutilized resources. That is the first step. The second step is how to optimize the resources, the sizing makes it correct and reduce cost in the second stage. The third stage is you look for which are the resources you can go for more discount models, like your fixed cost or more for discounted models for different cloud service providers provides you different ways of optimizing cost. So you have to look at the different stages and reduce the overall cost, and this optimization exercise has to be continuous. So you should adopt different practices, like your resource tagging should be very perfect in terms of tagging all the resources in the cloud, and also you need to make sure all the monitoring is in place for CPU, memory and network so that you can do the optimization effectively. You also need to automate your scripts and for start stop, and so you have to look at all the different aspects of managing your cloud cost effectively. And this is a journey. You won't get the cloud native expertise on day 1. So you need to go in different stages, move to cloud first, gain experience first, and then you try to improve your automation, improve your optimization, and finally you can become a fully cloud native later. We went through all this exercise, and it is quite rewarding when we finally hit the final system towards the last week in Christmas last year, and we tracked all the 113 systems in a very tight manner. We divided it into 18 stages, and we tracked the progress consistently across all the applications and ensure all the activities are completed on time. So this slide gives you a summary of what I explained to you so far. We had about 15 lessons or insights I would like to share with you, which you can use it for your own cloud migration journey, and into the 3 key buckets. One is build your cloud competency, establish a flyway for migration, and get ready for operations. I hope you find my talk useful. If you have any questions, you can ask during the question and answer session. Thank you very much.